Okay, imagine you are snorkeling in Sabah. At first, you see colorful corals, fish everywhere, very beautiful. But then, you move a bit further, suddenly the reef looks broken, dull, and almost empty. So, what actually happened? Coral reefs are made by tiny animals called coral. They look strong like rocks, but actually they are very sensitive. When the sea gets too hot because of climate change, coral gets stressed and turn white. This is what we call coral bleaching. On top of that, pollution and human activities like overfishing make things worse. So the coral doesn't just die overnight, but slowly the whole ecosystem starts to disappear. That's why scientists don't just wait for nature to fix it. They step in using coral restoration like artificial reef to help damaged areas recover.
The coral restoration method we focus on is an artificial reef approach using reef stars under the Mars-assisted reef restoration system. Reef stars are hexagon-shaped steel frames coated with sand and covered with small pieces of healthy coral. The process of this method is done by collecting broken but healthy coral fragments from nearby reefs. Then, tie each piece onto a reef star, and lastly, place and pin the frames over rubble so they form a stable new base. Over time, the corals grow across the frames and rubble, turning the metal structure into a living reef again. This work is focused in Tun Mustapha Park Sabah, especially around Malangan Kecil Island, Pitas Floating Coral Bar, and Tajah Laut. The method is effective because teams can deploy more than 300 reef stars per day and it creates paid jobs and training for local communities. However, it cannot stop coral bleaching, mainly suitable on rubble-damaged reefs only and needs high-cost, skilled divers and long-term monitoring to succeed.
But here's the thing, restoration alone is not enough. Think of it like this. If your house roof is leaking, you can mop the floor every day. But if you don't fix the roof, the water will keep coming. So, that's where conservation strategies come in. First, marine protected areas. Act like no disturbance zones. When humans stay out, corals get time to recover naturally. Next, climate mitigation. It's about reducing carbon emission. Less emission means less warming, and that means less coral bleaching in the future. Then we have community-based conservation. This is important because local people are the one closest to the reef. When they are involved, protection becomes long-term, not just a short project. We also need policies and international agreement to make sure protection laws are strong and actually enforced. And finally, sustainable practices like responsible fishing and tourism help reduce daily damage to coral reef. So in short, restoration helps repair the reef, but conservation strategies are what help the reef survive in the long run.
Now, looking at the effectiveness and challenges of this project, so far, reef stars have helped restore over 2,000 square meters of damaged reef with higher coral cover and more fish biomass than before. Within 3 to 5 years, this restored area can start to look and function like healthy reefs again. However, there are important challenges. Restoration is expensive and very labor-intensive because it needs many trained divers in the water. At the same time, climate change is still causing mass coral bleaching, which can kill both natural and restored corals. This is why restoration on its own is not enough. Artificial reefs can repel local damage, but they cannot stop global warming, pollution, or overfishing. For reefs to survive long-term, restoration must be combined with strong marine protection and serious climate action.
In conclusion, coral restoration helps damaged reef recover, but long-term survival depends on strong conservation, climate action, and community involvement. Thank you!